Good morning. So today we are going to talk more philosophical, but it ends up being really actually important to physics and how we see things. And it's like this weird trick I think ends up of the topology of the universe and geometry and all of that. You should know by now if you have watched many of my videos, or you don't. I'm totally obsessed with the concept of the circle of inversion, or the inversion of the circle, which is a mathematical trick where, let's say you have a bunch of stuff going on in here. One way of sort of getting a better look at it, or a different look at it, is to invert it. So this point here ends up being at infinity, because if you drew a line like this through that point, the tangents never match, so that's infinity. Any other point, not the center point, which is also the edge, and this is why I'm so obsessed with this, because I really think that this is okay. So this is the antimatter universe. This is our universe. Deep void there, deep void here. It doesn't matter. Here's a point in space. Now you draw center. First you draw this, then you draw that, then you draw these, and that's the matching point for this point. So it's a isomorphic hologram, which is the way I believe the universe works, because we are a Klein bottle. Okay, but being in persistence. So if you are just everywhere, then how are you a thing? It's like the creation of a singularity. Okay, and let's do our quick refraction thing. So this is going to be, this direction is going to be energy intensity. And along here is how much it refracts a space, or like propagation. And of course, and all of a sudden you're going to reach a point where you have an energy density at the place of event horizon, or neutron, just a little past a neutron star energy density, because everything can be measured in energy density, or mass density, or density is density, Lorentzian field density. Anyways, you have total internal reflection. Remember these words: total internal reflection. Places disaster. Okay, total internal reflection. So total internal reflection. A photon that becomes trapped over its own energy. Now you have an orbit, right? You have containment. You have a surface. And now you have persistence. You have containment. You have persistence. When do you have this? Notice, like, all of this is outward facing. And all of this. And this is the dialectic, essentially. But the dialectic of being pulled apart, pulled between our internal and our external. And consciousness is the membrane in between these two worlds, or our interaction. We are the thing. This is the singularity. It's like the nature of all membranes, and once you have that, it's like this tension between the two, this pulling in and pulling out. But if you don't have this circularity of persistence, then you don't exist. is the nature of persistence. Or there's no evidence of you. You have no character. There is no tension. If everything is the same, there's nothing there. I mean, gray is gray without texture. How do you define? It is by contrast that we define things. And the ultimate contrast to have an inside and an outside, because you have complete opposite directions of flow. Laminar flow is all cohesive. It's when you have a group of people working together. This is a singularity unto itself. As soon as we have that, and the tension of this, right? If you have total internal reflection, that means that this stuff is going like this all the time, creating low pressure on the inside, holding the drop together. And this is all pushing on it. This tension here is ourselves. And if you reduce this, you just get bigger, and that's why, you know, you reduce gravity, you get larger water drops, until you can have a huge water drop in space if you're really, really, really careful. But this energy pushes and confines the size of the water drop. But the existence of the membrane, this is identity, this is you-ness, otherness. People that don't get along have really big electron fields. People that get along, as I said, it's like, you know, in my bonds thing, it's like there's you, and then you can have sort of like a very vague sort of ionic bond. And then you can have a covalent bond. And you can have a metallic bond where you share everything, right? And then there's the final bond, which is when, oops, size, the two neutrons finally actually touch and fully share of themselves, not just their fields, but themselves. Because, oh yes, notice also, divergence, electron field, convergence, positron field, divergence, electron, convergence, positron. This is why the charge works this way. This is why I say that electrons are inflows, divergence, they're actually out here, diverging, because I guess this means all the electron charge would be here if that was the fact. So therefore, the distribution of the charge is going to be reciprocal. Electrons are fairly close to the proton and aren't like 10,000 miles away. That's actually a question, right? Why does it decrease? Why is it not? Because the charge membrane here is very well defined on the proton as well. Then there must be an innate distance, which has to do with Planck distance or something. And then this is the harmonic of where this charge is distance-wise. This is a higher density energy field, therefore it's going to be much, much more condensed space. I was thinking about that with hydrogen. This is really rambling. But how do you get, like, what's the frequency, what's the wavelength of hydrogen? And if so, how do you fit that wavelength inside of a hydrogen atom? Sort of. Yeah. I mean, it's the spring speed in that space, but still. Okay, that was very rambly. But singularity, and the singularity from expansion of neutron to hydrogen. neutron to hydrogen. These are the same thing. These are two states of the same material. This is when it's condensed. This is when it expands in deep void. My joke is that the universe is like a jack-in-the-box. Gravity shoves the little springy toy back into the box, and then when it's released in deep space, it springs out, and then gravity pushes it back in, and then it springs out. We exist on a Klein manifold, and all of this happens everywhere. So cool. Okay, peace. Have a good day.